Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic Roundtable Show every Friday at around 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. This is episode, here's Heather.
8,276.
Good morning, Heather.
600.
Good Lord, we have even numbers today.
Yeah, 626. You can watch this live, but only on the WP-Tonic Facebook group page. Go and search for it and join us there. All the bonus content of this will also be there. That's where I get very fruity with my language and my views. So if you want to see the real outrageous version of this show, join us.
Because we're so restrained, naturally.
Well, you tell me off when I speak my mind, so you can't have it always. I'm going to let the panel, we've got a great special guest, Stephanie Hudson, with us. Stephanie, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the tribe?
Hi guys, I'm Stephanie Hudson. I am a WordPress geek myself. I run an agency called Sweet Team Marketing that does WordPress website builds and branding and things, but mostly I spend my days over at Focus WP, where we help agencies and freelancers to scale and grow their business by providing all of the services that they don't want to do themselves, like development and design and copywriting and those kind of things. So.
Yes, thanks for that. Stephanie, we got Heather. Heather, would you like to quickly introduce yourself, Heather?
Yeah, hi, I am Heather Wild-Renzi. I am the Digital Solutions team at The Difference, Digital Solutions lead at The Difference.
And I've got Sally, my friend Sally. Sally, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I am Sally Getch, rhymes with sketch, the WP fangirl and organizer of the East Bay WordPress meetup.
That's great. I've got my friend Andrew, and he also helps me.
Andy P.
And the only Andrew Palmer. Would you like to introduce him?
The one and only Andrew Palmer. You can find me on This Is Andrew Palmer, and I'm doing too much at the moment, so you can find all about me on that website. So that's it.
We have got Spencer Forum, but for some reason he's decided to leave. Oh, he's back again. It's like a cat, listeners and viewers. Spencer, would you like to introduce yourself?
Spencer Foreman from WP Launchify. And sorry about that. I have a child home with a bad stomach today, so I had to talk this call.
Oh dear. All right. Before we go into the main stories of today's show, I just want to tell you about our great major sponsor, and that's Castos. Castos, if you're looking to get into podcasting for yourself or for clients, you need somewhere to store your audio files, provide an RSS feed, and all the other bits and pieces. This is what Castos does. I've been with them for around 6 months. I've been totally delighted with their service. Their interface is really easy to use. Their support is superb. They're just a cool crowd to work with. They decided to become a major sponsor of the show. Please show your support to them and their great service by going over, having a look at what they got to offer, and buy one of their packages for yourself or for clients. Plus, if you go to WP-Tonic newsletter and join the WP newsletter, you will find there a special offer just for the tribe. It's 50% off for the first 6 months, and you only find that offer on the WP-Tonic newsletter page. It's only offered there. So take it up for yourself or for your clients. So let's go into the first story. Automattic requires, how do you pronounce it?
Frontity.
Frontity founders to work full-time on Gutenberg. What a fate. Oh dear. They took the money, and what a way to have to take your money. Stephanie, what did you think of that one?
Wow, we're pulling up my name first out of the gate to talk about
this? Ladies first, and you're a guest.
That's true. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I think, I don't know. I thought this article didn't say a whole lot. It said like...
Well, it's from the tavern, isn't it? What do you expect?
Yeah, it's like, they clarified that this doesn't mean it's going to be merged into WordPress. Okay, well, thanks for that. That doesn't mean anything. And then they also said, we're going to do our best to leave the project in a stable, bug-free state. Well, I would hope so.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, and I mean, but like, well, I don't know. It just seemed like that didn't really say anything. So we're gonna have this, but we're not really gonna use it. But maybe we're gonna use it, and we're not committing to anything. So I don't know.
Well,
Did you guys read any real words, like real substance in that?
Well,
I-
I thought it was written by the great leader directly myself. What do you reckon, Sally?
Well, I mean, it's like, oh, look, another week, another acquisition by Automattic. But it also, like, they were working on a front end framework, and we know that most of the WordPress team is heavily, PHP based, and they've made this commitment to Gutenberg, which involves a lot of JavaScript. So what are you going to do? Well, you want some React developers. And clearly it was
3 years into the project they realized that.
well, they may have realized it before and not been able to grab any, because what most developers out there think of WordPress is like, they'd run a mile before breakfast to get away, and obviously whatever the deal was, it was agreeable to the Frontity founders that they switch tracks and work on Gutenberg instead, and they're going to turn Frontity into a sort of open source community project, which means it will probably languish, because that happens to a lot of open source community projects.
I think it's pretty important. Might be a bit more important for Automattic. What do you reckon, Spencer? Do you think it's going to move forward, or like Sally says, it's just going to bound, swap around?
I mean, I have two thoughts about this. First of all, for the two young guys that are doing this is a good move, because you're otherwise swimming in a giant blue ocean, maybe without a raft. I mean, really, it's pointless to go at it doing a React framework in the world where you could join up with like what's happening right now, because even I have drank the Kool-Aid of what's happening. The second part of this, which ties together with a story we may not be doing today, but I wanted to reference, was the conversation about how you could take the entire PHP legacy of WordPress and through an interface allow that to be translated to front-end React components. There was a very exciting thread on this over at Post Status, where essentially, imagine everything that's already there in WordPress on PHP can show up as blocks, and even front-end editable blocks, without people having to learn React.
Anything
that will get me out of having to learn React sounds good.
It's a great podcast and that, but he won't come on the show. You won't even answer my emails. Like, there we go. You can't please everybody.
Who's that?
Rude.
The guy that runs Post Status.
Oh, well, I mean that Corey.
Not Corey. The other one, David.
Oh, but the point is, like, it was discussed. They have a group over there, and I think they were talking about on the site that this isn't a secret. Like Mark Jackwith, who's one of the guys along with Justin Tadlock, who I learned most everything from. He's been around from day one. He put out a tweet.
He won't answer.
When he was about 12.
He won't answer my emails anymore either.
Well, but we're not going there this episode. But like, the point is that the whole concept of taking the legacy and making it work for the front end solves all this friction. You know what I mean? It's like a Google Translate when you go to Spain. Even if you're not good at Spanish, you could just get around and show your phone, or it speaks out. And that's the point. Like, get the results done. That will get more people excited about it.
You've ended so many relationships for me, Spencer, being on this show. There we
Right,
go.
We're not going to repeat last show, so I'm not
right,
even going to acknowledge that.
I've got the letters.
Last show was like visiting Texas.
All right.
I think I missed that one.
Oh, Heather, what did you think of this?
I mean, I think it's great that they are bringing in another React framework, and I mean, we were talking about this last time. That I mean, they say they're not going to be pushing React, but I mean, I think that they're heading that direction.
Yeah, I think you're right. What do you reckon, Andrew?
I think it's a great thing if they've woken up and smelled the roses, right? They say, right, we need some guys that know exactly what they're doing. They've made Frontity, it runs TikTok, for God's sake. It's obviously a proven framework, and these guys are coders of the highest level. So yeah, it's good for Gutenberg, and it's good for WordPress. You know, you've got some people out there that are native React speakers. Okay, so yeah, it's a good thing. They must have been offered a boatload of cash to dump a project that you've put your heart and soul into. But and I hope it's worth it for them, and I hope it's worth it for us as users, because it can only be good if Automattic are investing in Gutenberg. It can only be a good thing, right? They've you know, Matt's woken up, smelled those roses, smelled the coffee in Brazil, and gone, do you know what? We got to do something, and we got to do something quick, because we're falling way behind, right? So yeah, it's a good thing. I love it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Andrew. I thought that was very insightful, and I was really pleased to see it, because something needs to be done. Hopefully they can help the Automattic team that, in my opinion, are foundering a little bit about getting this to the level which it should be at, where this project should be, in my opinion. Hopefully that they're going to be able to do that. So on to the next story. It's the biggest story in tech this week, and probably for the next couple of months. It's the trial of the Theranos founder, Elizabeth Holmes. She
now we're talking. Oh, wait. I have some things to say about this topic.
You're a regular now, Stephanie. If you can do voices like you're
only that one. That's my only voice is Elizabeth. I should have worn a black turtleneck. I'm really mad. I meant to and I forgot.
Yeah, you should have done. All the ladies, I should have insisted that you all wore black. Heather, my beloved Heather. I'm not making any comments like last week, Heather. So what did you think? What do you think of this and the start of her trial?
So this is an interesting one, because I mean, what she did was obviously wrong, but I mean, like, conning people out of money is like never a good thing. However, as somebody that's from Silicon Valley, like, that's been in that culture for like my entire career, I can see it from the perspective of, like, she was told her entire career, fake it till you make it, like, get the investors on your side, and like, so she's on trial for two things, basically, or she's being vilified for two things. One, doing what every founder is being told to do, and two, she's being dragged through the coal, or dragged across the coals, for being a woman, because there's so many men that have done way worse recently. I mean, just look at WeWork. I mean, that was $20 billion. And this is
but it wasn't medical, and it wasn't people with cancer and other conditions given false results ever.
But I mean, if you look at the actual cases, I mean, what they were given as false results, it was like they had they weren't told that they didn't have cancer. They were told that they might have cancer, so they had to go and get another test. So it was like, I mean, it wasn't that they're like, for 1 week before they got a second opinion, they had like a mental stress of, oh no. so I mean, like, the press is dragging her because she's a woman, way more than if it was a man. And
anyone having deja vu about Martha Stewart?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like, and it's such a unique case. Yes, if you put yourself in the position of, like, if it was a man that was running this company, would this be as bad of a thing in the media?
Yes.
Like, I mean,
would he be using his regular voice?
Well, so
he would be able to use his regular voice.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually coached women. I've done it myself to not, like, use a higher pitch. I mean, my voice is much lower. I mean, I've trained myself over the years to not use a higher pitch. And it's not like, I mean, I don't go to the extent that she did, but I mean, you can't be like bubbly voice.
I can
Crazy
see
girl.
that
You can't
Stephanie.
sound like a squeaky little girl because no one will take you seriously.
Yeah,
That is true.
I do see where you're coming from, and I think there's elements of truth in what you're saying, Heather. But I also think for somebody that's a VC, you're very honest, and I won't say saying charitable has weakness. You don't come across as a weak person, but I think you try and see the best in people, and I think you're trying to see the best in her. But
no, I mean,
I don't think there is any best in her. To be quite
no,
truthful.
but that's the thing. Like, I don't think that she herself is I don't know her personally. I mean, and I don't think, and that's the thing. Like, I think people are judging her personally, and not that many people know her personally. So
I don't think she knows herself. To be quite truthful,
you have a visceral reaction to this person because of what the media is doing.
I'm going to leave that to the bonus content because I'm going to be very straightforward about what I feel about her.
Exactly. And how do you feel something about a person that you don't know?
I actually think I know her quite well. I have met people like her, and I think I know who she is.
Well, it's totally possible for both things to be true.
Yeah.
For the press and the public to be maligning her harder because she's female, and for her to be completely deserving of whatever she gets from a legal standpoint.
I've got a strong feeling. I've met her a couple of times. Stephanie, what do you think of this?
Oh, I think so many things. I'm actually super excited to hear what Heather just said because I'm just like, I did not see that coming. I did not see somebody like Team Elizabeth in the Theranos story, but I like it because it makes me stop and say like, wait a minute, am I just a sucker for the media on this? Although honestly, I did read the book and watch the documentary, and I have read some other stuff on it just because it's so salacious and like her whole persona is so fascinating. She's her own like movie character with the voice and the turtlenecks and the whole, like, she's so intentionally has built this persona and this whole thing around herself, and she's so driven. And then there's all this controversy, like some of those the YouTube links that are in the notes here, where it's like people are actually accusing her of having a baby on purpose. Like there was a news report where someone was like, "Do you think this was a planned pregnancy?" I'm like, okay, like how can you say like?
Well,
yeah,
I
think it was.
I feel that she has. I feel that I think she's of such a criminality that she has a child to avoid a longer sentence.
I'm not Team Elizabeth, but you can't say that. Come on. The thing that gets me too is
honestly, I honestly believe that, Steph. I think we're dealing with such a psychopath. It would be, we are dealing with a level of psychopathic disease here that she is capable of doing that, Stephanie.
And is she getting this punishment or these, this criminal case and all this stuff? Is it because she's a woman or not? I don't know. I have some like,
I think there's definitely is an element of that.
I mean, I'm a female business owner. I care about all that kind of stuff too. I don't want people to be put down, but I'm also a little anti-feminist at the same time. Like I think sometimes we use it as it can be a crutch. It can be an excuse. Yeah. And it's like, well, okay, so she shouldn't be prosecuted to the full extent of the law because she's a woman. She should. Are we doing it in comparison, like to men? No, like what she did is completely criminal.
Oh yeah, crazy. But it's like it's not that Martha Stewart didn't deserve to go to jail. It's that she didn't deserve to go to jail more than her male peers who had done the same thing. So it's not that we shouldn't put Elizabeth Holmes in jail. It's why is what's his lips from WeWork still walking around out there?
Yeah, well,
why did he get a payout of like $6 billion? And Elizabeth,
I think there's also, ladies, before I bring in Spencer and Andrew, I think there's the bigger story of if you're one of the insiders or you manage to become one of the insiders of Silicon Valley, there seems to be, which applies to these other individuals that you've mentioned, there seems to be an unlimited supply of cash to you with literally no real oversight. I think that's the bigger how cronyism and being seen as a member of the
Sorry, what?
cronyism and being
Easy for you to say.
I don't know what you mean by that, Stephanie. I've been an outsider all my life. How do you think I got into WordPress? It collects outsiders. You're part of the Sanford, elite. You're part of the cronyism, which is at the core of Silicon Valley, which it doesn't like people to understand. What do you think of that, Heather?
So on the one hand, like nepotism and cronyism, like people give that a bad rap because if they're on the outside, like if they're not one of the in crowd, then they're like, oh, that this is terrible. But on the other hand, like there's something to be said about like hiring people and working with people that you already know are like, I try to always hire people that I know for sure I can trust. So I'll always like if I've worked with someone before, then and I know that they'll do the job, then I'm absolutely going to hire them again. And that's cronyism. And like I'm going to hire somebody that's recommended by somebody that I trust. And,
well,
I'm going to invest in someone that I've already worked with.
I think you're being hard on yourself. What I see as that barrier is when people are pretty indifferent and poor, but they're in your crony group and you use them because there's still benefits because you're going to get extra gravy by using them.
Well, so, I mean, there's always like one or two people in the group that you bring along once. There's always like that person that you bring on vacation and you pay for them once. And then like you drop them.
Can I be your friend,
I
Heather?
was just gonna say, Heather, have I told you how beautiful you look today?
I have a friend. Can I be a closer friend?
No, but I mean like, or like you pay for their dinner once and then like you realize that they're not going to give anything back. And then like they get dropped. So that, I mean, that happens. And like, in this case, like she's not going to get invested in again. And like in the investor circle, like that's the same thing. Like you invest in somebody and like you trust that they're going to do well. They don't, and then they don't get invested in. Whereas like with like companies, you see these investors like Adam Newman who, like did work, but not as well as he was expecting. But he's going to get invested in again because like that wasn't his first company. He's been successful.
If anybody invests in anything he's involved in, they need their brain examining.
He will absolutely get invested in again.
Sorry, like, who's this one?
WeWork.
Oh, that's the WeWork guy. Okay.
Yeah.
So Spencer, what do you think? Is she being vilified because she's a woman totally, or is it or only partially, or is it a mixture that she's also a hardcore psychopath at her heart?
Well, okay, so I'm going to be contrarian for once.
Oh, Spencer is never contrarian.
No, the new Spencer. I'll bring it out. The new Spencer.
Hold on. Give me some runway on this. My take on this, based upon recent events with attacks on women's rights, like this Texas stuff I find intolerable, is that women who are in the position of leadership and being, pioneers, especially when large amounts of money are involved, get treated differently than men. It's just black and white clear, and they get treated unfairly compared to men. If a man did the things that she's doing, like maybe the WeWork guy, although he brought his wife along for the ride and she was probably just as culpable, the fact is that men get passes They get passes because of political power. They get passes because of insider dealing. They get passes because of the passive-aggressive, misogynistic way that our world is set up. And as a man who's a Scorpio and very independent-minded, I see this, even myself, as unfair. I literally think they will hang her on the proverbial cross, whereas if it was a dude, he would have just gotten a pass on it. And you see that in politics all day long. You see that in investor circles all day long. Politics in particular, because I just am blown away. There are some really outrageous female politicians on the Republican side especially, and there's a few on the Democratic side, but they get away with stuff because their constituents prop them up. Here, she's going to be left on the cross in the desert by herself, and I don't see any way out of it. And the closest example was even how women are treated differently. Remember the whole controversy before COVID where there was the paying for their kids to get in school, and you had the two actors, and you had Lori Loughlin, who was super cute, and everybody thought she was awesome, but then she turned out to be, her and her husband Massimo turned out to be kind of like dicks about the way they handled it. Whereas, I forget the other two actors, but she was very contrite. The contrite female got less of a punishment, but still got punished really severely for what she did. Lori Loughlin got put hardcore jail time. And that's what happens in our society. And I find it unfortunate that we're so far down the road, but yet so backwards with how this is how men control the world.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
can I say something to that?
Yeah, cool, of course you can.
Because I think I've been thinking about this, and it's like, okay, so we're going to take the end result only and talk about how she has an unfair, she's like at a disadvantage. But what about at the beginning of everything, when she's this 19-year-old blonde with big blue eyes and a charismatic personality? Did you see the board that she had?
It's crazy.
First of all, it's all old white dudes, and it's all, you know, like generals and like huge business. Like a 19-year-old guy, even if he was charismatic, would he have had those advantages? I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not trying to be controversial with this. It just made me think of it. Like,
please do. That's why you're here.
There was a recent episode of Techish where they talk about pretty privilege, and it is a thing.
Is a point. If you look at the whole game, we try to pretend that we're all beyond sexuality and things that are involved with male versus female, but we're not. Because you could be a very pretty 19-year-old girl who is a lying, cheating, conniving, whatever, and get away with murder. But when you're going to be punished, you're going to be punished like somebody with no power. If you are a young, conniving guy, you have to find maybe an old lady with billions of dollars to give you the money, or you have to lie in a different way. But when you get punished, if you have the right connections, the punishment is going to be different than if you were a female, because everybody is going to be like, whoa, Elizabeth, can't touch you. You're nuclear now. But apparently the WeWork guy has enough dirt, and all the Republican characters who've been indicted apparently have enough thing. And so it doesn't matter at the end how you started, but I agree, it's all part of the same game. And it's beware of it. And it's just, it's stupid, but that's how it is. Like, we're pretending it doesn't exist.
If you're okay with it, Andrew, I want to go for the break. Or do you have something that you need urgently to say before we go?
Not really, but I mean, you know, even the big investors and the big people with money, DeVos and Walmart and everybody like that, they fell for it. So she had a good sales spiel. And if I'd met her before this, I'd be wanting to employ her as a salesperson, because she obviously has what it takes.
I'm just going to say to the audience, I do take where Spencer is going with this, and there's an element of truth. I do accept from Heather and Spencer there is an element of truth here, but where I really disagree with both of them, audience, is that we're dealing with a real special individual here. We're really dealing with a piece of work here. We're dealing with a black widow at her heart. She is a real monster. But that's my opinion. I kept my language clean, didn't I, ever? We're going to go.
Hang on, nobody mentions Ramesh Balwani. who was her chief executive chairman,
she plans to throw
and is on trial at the same time.
She plans, Andrew, to throw him under the bus, that somehow emotionally he was controlling her.
Right.
You gotta be joking, aren't you? You really gotta be joking, Elizabeth. You think this pile of crap which your defense team are going to come out is going to go down with the trial. I've forgotten the thing, but I think you're deluding yourself, Elizabeth. I think your day of reckoning is rapidly coming your way, dear, and you richly deserve it. But that's my opinion. We are
innocent until proven guilty, right?
All right, yeah. Well, she's missed a lot of people around. We're going to go
on the Supreme Council.
we are going for our break. We'll be coming back, folks. We're coming back. We've had a great discussion, a discussion which I think, audience, you would agree that this you would only hear here. Before you just listened to advert for LaunchFlows. Spence and LaunchFlows have been really great supporters of the show. They've also done a special offer on LaunchFlow, their lifetime license. It's just an amazing offer. You can only get that if you go to WP-Tonic newsletter. Sign up for the newsletter. On that page, you'll see the special offer that's only available to the tribe. And thank you, Spencer and LaunchFlow, for showing your support for the show. So on to the next story. Less controversial than the previous one, I would say, but Gutenberg contribution gets organized to make more book-based navigation. God, these tavern titles, they're so exciting, aren't they? Stephanie, what do you think of this one, Stephanie?
Well, at least you can't accuse them of clickbait.
No, you certainly can't do that, can you? No.
I mean, I think progress is good. I think this is all good. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really a Goot user at this point. But,
aren't you?
No.
You're admitting you're not a Gutenberg user.
But I'm not anti. I'm more into delegating these days, so I'm all for it. But I'm not digging into it.
Someone
at the
else
moment.
to use. Your Heather's anti.
Oh, she's anti. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think it's there yet. I don't think it's ready either fully. I mean, I think you could do stuff with it for sure, but like that's not going to be my main tool. And I don't know.
Spencer's had a Gutenberg experience on the road to Damascus, Stephen.
I wore it down after a while.
I agree with everything everybody's saying. I'm saying I have now crossed the parallel. I have 1 foot in North and 1 foot in South Korea, so to speak, because it has reached the capability of doing things that mean I know where I'm going with this instead of pretending it's never going to get there. But I agree, it's not by itself ready for prime time.
Oh well.
What somebody needs to do is
you're confusing me now, Spencer.
In other words, I've said consistently, like if you want to succeed, hold on. If you want to succeed in WordPress, okay, we have never in the 16 years I've been here been in a more exciting time than now. But what we've seen from the 3 previous tectonic plate shifts is that if you commit yourself to one thing and ignore what's happening, you will be left in the cold, i.e. the customizer. Hello. Yeah. So if you see where this is going, Gutenberg has crossed the point where I see it will survive and it will thrive. It's getting there with help today. I'm saying set your course for that island where it's heading to and be there when it arrives, because otherwise you're going to be left out in the cold like you were before. All those custom themes, bye-bye. All those customizers and mini page builders are going to have trouble. Elementor and Divi will survive.
Divi, let's hope Divi disappears. So there we go.
Well, what you really need is someone to develop a page builder to Gutenberg converter.
Exactly. That's that translation thing that Mark Jackwith was talking about. Maybe Andrew Palmer knows some guys.
I think it's coming. I know it's coming because we are developing it. So
Is there how many bloody fins are you got your
That's
fingers?
kind of up there
I
with.
told
Talk
Matt.
about
I
something
told,
that's
Nostradamus has
overstretched.
weapons
I
of mass
told Matt
destruction because I
Mullenweg.
have the receipts.
I told Matt Mullenweg at WCEU Berlin that I was going to be developing a page builder to Gutenberg converter, and we have already successfully beated a particular page builder to Gutenberg blocks, and it will
That's
be
beta
launched.
in the United States, by the way.
It will be a beta. It will
Beta
be
for those who
launched.
speak American.
It'll be launched before.
What year
the
was
end of
that?
September.
Yeah,
20, I don't know, but Berlin a couple of years ago.
yeah, Matt said a few things to me, but I can't repeat them on this show. So.
No, I told him I was talking to him. He wasn't talking to me. He
No,
said,
he
"Good
said a
luck with
few
it."
things to me, but I won't repeat them on this show.
If any
They're
one of you wants to be a
unrepeatable.
beta tester, give me a shout.
But that is the thing, that Andrew's idea is going to be a very popular idea, and many people will do it. But essentially, you need a translation device from what we've got to where we got to go, because React I'm getting used to, but nobody needs to learn to code in React, and React is still debatably evolving for what they needed to do as well. So why bother? In the meantime, if you make it seamless, take all the junk you got and make all the PHP stuff you want and make it spit out on the front end, and everybody's happy. Use what you want.
Now, Heather, this is your therapy session, Heather. What is it? Why do you despise Gutenberg so much, Heather? Come on, it's time. It's time to talk about your childhood and why this is,
Go lay down on that couch behind you.
Towards your feelings towards Gutenberg, Heather.
Just every time one of my team tries to update something in Gutenberg, every time I go back to the page, it says, "This block has been corrupted. Please click to uncorrupt block." And I'm like, what did you do this time? Please don't use it. So we always have to revert whatever changes they did and figure out so it's just Gutenberg. No,
you're not having it. Well, you got Sally, the archangel of Gutenberg, Miss Gutenberg herself, Sally. So,
I have not already gotten on the page builder bandwagon, and I started using Gutenberg in 2017 because we did some beta testing for them, or beta testing if you're Andrew, and and I start. Yes, I started using Gutenberg, building all Gutenberg all the time in 2018, because it's like Spencer says, even if I hadn't liked it, and I do, although as with many things about technology, that doesn't mean I never tear my hair out over it, because that's what technology is like.
That's why we love it.
Yes, even if I didn't like it, it would make sense to jump on that bandwagon early and have time to prepare, because I don't tend to learn things instantaneously.
No.
What?
I don't, as a dyslexic, but I've learned it. I have to spend more time learning something, but I tend to learn it much more deeper than the average person. It's most peculiar, really. You would think being able to learn something easy, but you tend to get blasé about it, where if you have to concentrate a lot more, if
you have to work hard on something, you remember it.
Yes, there we go. There we are.
Listen, well,
I built a site the other day, a Gutenberg site for me, because I'm selling a domain, and I built it, and it was a 5-page website, blah blah blah,
blah blah blah,
in Gutenberg using the cadence theme.
You built a 5-page site just to sell a domain?
Yeah, of course. And out of the box on the cheapest hosting in the UK, it was
Jesus! Oh God!
Gutenberg is far.
Cheap crap.
Let him speak, John. He's bringing this as a valid
point with what you're saying. Like Divi is great and Gutenberg is great. He just interrupts you.
I've been quite look, Spencer. I've been quite good for me.
I'm saying You're interrupting on the point that's more relevant than you slamming on some woman. And I'm saying Gutenberg is a big thing for everybody listening.
If you think I'm slamming on a woman, wait till
you keep saying all these things where you say about like what you think about somebody personally, but Andrew's got a good point. Everybody's got a point here, which is Gutenberg is relevant to anybody in WordPress as much or more so than Theranos or anybody else. That's the point I'm making.
Well, if you think I'm slamming on Elizabeth during this podcast, you wait till the bonus content. You ain't seen anything yet. You need to, your ears are going to burn.
Nathan Wrigley never interrupts his guests. That's all I'm going to say.
There you go. It's just the charm of the show, Spencer. You've been on here 100 episodes. Someday you'll understand how this show works. There we go. Some of us have to be slow learners, don't we? So on to the next story. Online trolls actually are just arseholes all the time. I think you found this one, Spencer, didn't you? What did you like?
This is Sally.
Oh, this is Sally.
Maybe I did. I don't know. Yeah. Is it Sally or me?
Well, I know I found it. Doesn't mean you hadn't seen it separately. But yeah, the Gizmodo headline was just lovely. They're actually just assholes all the time. I mean, it's true. It is an interesting. There was a study with a more serious title done that they're basing this on that said, well, they did some research about people who are habitually trolls online, and guess what? They're jerks in person too, because there's there's kind of a long tradition or theory. Oh yes, Stephanie, this is my cat.
My fingers have gone up 5 times, Stephanie. If we get the cats on the show, my viewing fingers increase enormously. Nobody cares what the fuck we say on this show.
It's the real reason he invites me on is because of the cat.
Yeah.
Anyway, that there are people who've theorized, the internet, and especially in the early days of the internet, the alleged anonymity that you had, it really encourages people to behave in ways they wouldn't behave in person. And I think to some degree this is true, but it's kind of like alcohol this way. It doesn't create something that isn't there. It amplifies the things that are there. So if you are basically an angry person, then you become a belligerent drunk. And if you are basically an angry person, you can really get off on blasting people online. So I think that is worth keeping in mind, and probably for the people who conducted the study, worth them, studying further and elaborating on.
So, Stephanie, as a woman, have you had to deal with some really nasty trolls? Being that you're in the public eye, you're quite active on the internet. Have you actually had to deal with some real psycho trolls?
Nothing but fans here. Nothing but love. No,
just love.
I'm not. Yeah. No, I really haven't. I don't know. I mean, I see
nobody said they want to piss on your shoes.
I've had some French trolls.
Some people are into that,
I've had some. I had a period where I had a group of French people that just seemed to dislike me. They were very active. They disliked other people as well online, but they followed me everywhere, Stephanie, commenting in broken English and French about me being a fucking arsehole. So there we go. How true they were, though, weren't they?
I've been thinking about this actually. Other than this, Andrew.
No, you go. You're talking.
Okay. I've been trying to grow my little Facebook group. It's small and it's a lovely little place. We only have 500 people and it's just such a nice size. I know, right? You go, but it's a nice place. I have no moderation to do. I don't have to admin people. I don't have to kick people out. Everybody is nice.
Group, the
and I have compared
Facebook group isn't a nice place, but we don't mean
How many people do you have?
Oh, we've only got
How many
about a
people-
couple hundred now, but it is growing.
Oh,
Especially
okay.
when I'm outrageous on this show, it increases quite
Right, then people.
substantially.
But like then I go to some of these other Facebook groups that I'm in, and there's one in particular, and I won't mention it, but it was what's so funny.
Oh, Spencer, he's wetting himself. He can't believe
Oh.
what comes out of my mouth. He just
Oh.
can't believe it. You wait till
But
the
the,
bonus content. You're going to be more than freaked out, Spencer. Go on.
There's other groups that I'm in that started small, and they were also nice places. And then as soon as they hit into like the 4 digits, they get to a few thousand, and it just changes. And so it makes me wonder, like, do the a-holes just join later? I don't think so. Like, I think there is an element of anonymity still, even with your name on things, that it still is a matter of like that people feel like they can just get away with saying more things. And it used to be like, when you look back, remember when YouTube you didn't have to have like it was all anonymous comments and things like that, or was that what it was? And it was like they started requiring you to have like an account because that made people behave at least a little bit better. I don't know. But I do think like there is some underlying thing, but I also think it's a little bit like most people don't like confrontation. Like if you bump into somebody in public, they're just not going to flip out on you the same way that they are.
Well, as a man,
like a Karen, but like the people who flip out on you in real life are also going to flip out on you online. So that element of this story is true, but I don't think that it's just across the board. And especially like, I don't know, did you guys catch this about the study? It said there were remarkably high correlations between self-reports of online and offline political hostility. So that's how they did this study. They asked people, hey, are you mean in real life?
Well, they must have had a bullet fest on in America. If
Well,
they're asking
probably,
Americans,
they probably asked them in a somewhat different way. If you write a good survey, you ask the same question several different ways. But yes, self-reported data always needs to be cross-checked.
I've got to tell the panel, and Andrew will probably nod to this. I had to learn the hard way. In Britain, I had friends that were very conservative, and we used to like a good argument in the pub, but in America, I had to learn the hard way. People do not like you disagreeing with them in America. They get rather violent or threaten you with violence rather quickly if you bring up certain subjects, especially in Northern Nevada. There's a substantial
especially Northern Nevada.
That's where he lives.
There's a substantial rabid Republican element here that seems to hate everything and everybody. Their list of hatreds of
heard about that Northern Nevada.
Yeah,
that's why I've never been there.
Endless list of people they don't like. It seems to be the thing that links them together, the people that they dislike so much, which is endless.
Back to the article. Well, I do want to comment because one of the things about that we do is we discuss the articles, and last week we discussed some of the comments, but basically this guy says, so basically people are dicks online just as much offline, but online their dickishness is much more permanent and allows people to encounter it hours and even days afterwards. And that's the key, is that if somebody abuses you down the pub, you walk away, right? Or on the golf course, you walk away. But when it's, and there are...
talk about yourself. It depends on how much they abuse me.
Well, if they abuse
me...
It
might be a more immediate response if they really...
so Jonathan, they respond to you in a way where you can't walk afterwards. Is that what you're saying?
Some of these, what I'm trying to say is some of these Facebook groups that Stephanie is talking about, and I'm a member of them as well, the toxicity level is outrageous. It's just outrageous. People are so toxic to each other. If you ask a simple question, you get lambasted. What are you doing in here? And these page builders are saying to people, you don't need to be a developer. You don't need to be a coder. So when somebody asks what a coder or a developer would say is a dumb question, the developers and coders run straight at them and punch them in the face. It's unbelievable. So the moderation of them, the admin of them and everything is not particularly good, because there's let's say there's 63 or
I miss
64,000 in this one group. It's hard to moderate a group.
I
that big.
missed, yeah, but Andrew, I miss the old days of the tavern. It was even the comments on the tavern in the old days. So they made Reddit look charming. I've never known an area so. The comments used to make me kind of cry. I'm scared to put anything on there because the comments were so. I've never known, but I do miss it in a way. The comments used to be more entertaining than the articles, but it's too civilized now. But I suppose that's my taste. Well, we're going to go. We've got a couple more stories, but we're going to go through those in bonus content, listeners and viewers. We're going to try and keep this to the hour because Heather's got much better things to do. Obviously, the panel,
Like
any of the
learning
panel that
Gutenberg.
want to keep. I expect Andrew to stay on, but hopefully the rest of the panel can stay on for a little while for the bonus content, and we will go through these stories, and then I'll make my feelings about the great Elizabeth very, very, very clear to the listeners and viewers.
Waiting for me.
I
it
don't
might
think
already
we're
be clear.
exactly in suspense.
Yeah.
I might have to go early.
No, you're not, mate. You're in this with me. So you
Andrew, stick
volunteered,
around.
so you can't disappear, Andrew. So he's saying fuck off there. He's fine. We're going to go into our recommendations of the week. My one is if you're looking to run something on DigitalOcean and all Vulture and all the rest of them, but you're not a PHP or Linux wizard, look at RunCloud. We've been using it on some of my internal projects. It's a great interface and a great service for DigitalOcean and some of these other cloud-based server networks. Spencer, have you got anything? And Andrew, do your job, Andrew. Make sure all the recommendations are in the Slack in a neat format for us, Andrew, please. His face. Spencer, have you got a recommendation to the...
Jeeves, would you do that for me? I'm going to recommend, in light of our conversation, something that is similarly in the between world between PHP and Gutenberg, which is lazy blocks. It's a custom blocks constructor, but what it lets you do is very quickly with the WYSIWYG interface create on your website a front-end block by just pasting in any good old PHP. And I played around with it, and in about 3 minutes, I was able to create some clever stuff, including, most importantly, taking the PHP stuff and putting WYSIWYG controls into it. So, for example, things like type in your name, drag the color selector, up and down, all the kind of controls that would be hard to build in and that I've had to do, in my case, like with other page builders, you can just make into ready to go blocks, even with no coding. The downside at the moment is that obviously you need the blocks, the Lazy Blocks plugin to stay in place as the translator tool. But who cares? It's like ACF does that kind of stuff, which is also very popular.
I mean, they can let Heather go next because she probably needs to go pretty soon. So, Heather, if you got, and please place it in the Slack channel for Andrew, Heather. Have you got a recommendation, Heather?
Yes. So one of the things that is a big problem for a lot of people is your mailing lists going stale. And this can cause deliverability issues. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Drop Contact, which is a French company that is the best one I've seen. I know, sorry.
God, you Divi, French people, the great leader. You keep mentioning these things that get my blood supply going.
I know, but I mean, it is the best one I've seen for cleaning your lists. So, and you can integrate it with WordPress as an API. So, like as soon as people upload, it'll enrich your list and make sure it keeps clean. So, Drop Contact.
Oh, Spencer, put in your background, put the picture of the great leader. Let's get my blood supply.
I don't have it on this show. I don't have it.
Oh dear, that's a shame.
Sorry.
He normally
Spencer,
puts
can you
it.
put your link in, please, into the chat.
Yes, put the link into Slack, will you, Spencer? For God's
the
sake.
what?
Into Slack.
No,
You know,
not
in
into
Slack.
into Slack, into chat, so that I can.
Into chat. Where do you want it? Where do you
In
put
the
it all
chat.
in? Put it into
put it in
chat.
chat.
then.
Oh, I put it into the WP-Tonic Slack channel. I can put it in the
Yeah.
chat.
Put it into. We'll do whatever he requires.
I'll put it
Okay.
all in one list.
No
Oh,
worries.
right.
Fair
Oh,
enough.
right. Yeah, that's great.
He's rubbish.
Stephanie, have you got a recommendation that you want to share with us?
Can I go last?
Yes, of course you can. You're not the last
Was I
lady that
prepared
ever,
for
you're
this
not the
segment
last
of the
lady
show?
that has ever said that to me. Sally, Sally, I'm sorry. However, oh God, I'm in the bad books with Emma there.
Oh, you got that bad, just
I
very
didn't
slight
mean it,
shade.
Emma. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Sally, it just came.
Take a deep breath, Jonathan.
Oh, Sally.
So I was listening to the Delicious Brains podcast yesterday, and they were talking about project management or time management kinds of tools. And this is one they mentioned. I had not heard of it. I haven't tried it. So recommend is probably too strong, but something you may wish to check out if you work with remote teams across time zones. It's called Stand-Uply, and it's basically asynchronous stand-up meetings that integrates with Slack or Teams to help provide the, heads up, here's what you need to know to people, at the beginning of their mornings, and not, as it's well into the evening for Andrew, for instance, right now, and it's the first thing in my day because it's 9:26 a.m. So it wouldn't be too much good, Andrew, getting the the stand-up info at 6 in the evening as he's about to knock off, instead of at 9 in the morning when he gets up.
Yeah, but sadly, we're web people. We never knock off.
We never sleep.
Well, yes, I know. If you're self-employed, you never stop working anyway. So
you never stop working anyway. Andrew, what's your recommendation, Andrew?
Well, I've been working a lot with Cadence this week. I've said it's taken me a long time to get into Cadence WP. But I decided to bite the bullet because Spencer and I have been having conversations about Gutenberg, and of course I'm working on a page builder to Gutenberg converter, which is working, so that's great. Launching at the end of the month, yippee! I decided to build a website with Gutenberg, and it was
you did
a piece of cake. It was a piece of cake.
Especially with Cadence and Cadence blocks, and I'm not pimping them out because Astra is just updated too, but the themes that are integrating with native blocks mean that all those controls that I've been using Editor Plus are now at the theme level, which just takes away all of the friction. And it's just, you got to try it because it's not what it was a week ago.
No, but it's not doing it the WordPress way, Spencer. It shouldn't have those controls in the theme.
That's why we can make the WordPress way our way. Because we run the factory that makes the stuff,
and that's what makes you so that, and that's what those kind of statements, Spencer, make you so popular.
That's the way it's been since day one in 2006. We make the stuff.
It's those statements.
We the people.
You're doing all right. I know what you're doing.
In order to form a more perfect WordPress.
Yeah, off you go. Stephanie, what's your recommendation then, my dear?
I figured it out. I've got a shout out to this app called Camo, which I'm using right now because I've been having terrible computer problems for the past couple of weeks, ever since I updated my MacBook Pro to Big Sur. It just it tanked. All my apps, something must have hung or not gone right because all my apps chew my CPU. And so for video, it was unusable. Like I couldn't get on video with anything except my bare bones like built-in FaceTime camera. Bye, Heather. And I couldn't, but it's like, it's such terrible quality. You can't control the lighting or the blur or anything like that. And I've ordered a new Mac Mini to come, but you got to wait for it. I'm like, come on, I want it today. But I've got to wait.
You're American. You want it yesterday, don't you?
Exactly. Come on, Amazon has raised me right. So so anyhow, I was sort of panicking last night because I'm like, oh my gosh, I agreed to go on a video podcast and I don't have like working video right now.
That is a
And,
slight problem, isn't it?
My friend Jen Weed said, try this. We got on a Zoom and she looked fantastic. And I said, what are you using? She said, it's my iPhone. So this is actually my iPhone up here mounted.
Wow.
And I've got this software called Camo because it uses I got the iPhone 12. It's got this amazing camera. It's 4K and everything. So it's like you can use the best camera in your house until I get my mirrorless DSLR. But anyway, so that was a really useful tool. And I think probably could be used for a lot of people because instead of the webcams that you buy, you can't get very good quality. And it's such a weird disparity. You can buy like a sub $200 webcam or a 2000 plus SLR. And it's like, those are your options. Right. So this is like, I've already got this here and it costs $40 for the year for the software. So anyway, that's my.
That's great.
Nice. Well, and it works.
And Andrew, what's your recommendation?
I've said Cadence WP.
You did. Sorry, I apologise. Yes, no, I'm getting to that.
Jonathan just blotted it out.
I just blotted it. Yeah, I did. Bad things I want to blot out when I get to my age, Shirley. Panel, before we go on to our bonus content for the podcast, how's the best way for people to find out more about you? And we start with Stephanie. How can people find out more about you and your words of wisdom, Stephanie?
You can come hang out in my Facebook group. It's called Focus on Your Biz. You can check out my website, focuswp.co, and I am on the weekly Divvy Chat podcast.
Divvy Chat.
No, that's Divvy Chat. I know it's a bad word here, but hey, we're friendly to builders of all shapes and colors.
I love Divvy. It's kept me fed and looked after for quite a while. I love it. Spencer,
we can still be friends if you don't. I don't mind.
Yeah, Spencer, how can people find out more about you and your words of wisdom?
WP-Launchify.com.
And Andrew, how can people find out more about you and your words of wisdom?
At Arnie Palmer on Twitter, and this is andrewpalmer.com.
And Sally, how can people find out more about you and your words of wisdom?
If you can spell my name, you can find me. Demonstrated by someone who phoned me yesterday while I was driving home from the car dealership because he had seen my name in the credits on the WordPress, the Missing Manual book.
All right, there we go. It's amazing how they find you, isn't it? We're going to wrap up the podcast part of the show, but if you really want the juicy stuff, you want more of my unbranded thoughts about the great Elizabeth, join us on the bonus content.
There's bonus content? Yeah,
there's bonus.
You should have mentioned this earlier, John.
Yeah, there's bonus. There's bonus content which you'll be able to only watch on the WP-Tonic Facebook group page, and you'll be able to leave comments. And if you watch us live on that page, you'll be able to comment during the show, and I'll read out the comments during the bonus content. So please join us on that Facebook group page and join us for the bonus content of the show. We'll be back next week with a great panel and a great discussion. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.